everyone, welcome to Ghost and Toast Makeup Sundays. Long time no see. Sorry about last week. I had some technical difficulties and I honestly filmed a video and then I hated it. So I just skipped last week, so sorry about that. Today we're going to be talking about the McInteer Villa in Atchison, Kansas. And it has a pretty long history, but we're just going to shorten it down a little bit. And yeah, so if you're new, welcome. Every Sunday I sit down and talk about a haunted location and the paranormal activity that goes on there. And then I also drink and do my makeup. So let's go ahead and get started. All right, so like I said earlier, today we're going to be talking about the McInteer Villa in Atchison, Kansas. It has quite a history. It was designed and built by John McInteer, and let's just go back a little bit and get some history on him first before we get started. So John McInteer was born in Ireland in 1827, and he came to the United States when he was a little kid. He came over to Philadelphia first and then lived there for a couple years, and after a while he ended up moving to Indiana, where he stayed for quite a while. So yeah, like I said, he spent some time in Philadelphia and Indiana when he was younger before moving to Kansas. He moved to Kansas in the 1860s, and he didn't quite live in Atchison. He lived around Atchison, and he worked doing trade for several businesses and businessmen between Kansas and St. Joe. So he lived his time doing that for quite a while before he built this manor. And he built it in 1889, and it took them a year and a half to build. So they, ended in 1890, 1900. Back in those days, it only cost him about $14,000 to build, as compared to today's standards. It would have costed him close to $1 million, I think, because this villa is huge. There's 3 floors, there's tons of rooms, tons of bathrooms. It's just a huge mansion. And it only cost him $14,000 to build, so that's pretty crazy. I wish I could build a house like that for $14,000. So yeah, after he built the house, he married his first wife. Her name was Alice, but she ended up dying in 1892, so 1892. They were only together for a couple of years before she ended up passing away, sadly. He then went on to marry another lady. Her name was Anna Colden, and he married her in 1895. John, they lived their lives for a few years together, happy, no issues. John ended up passing away in 1902. And Anna passed away in 1916. When he died, she lived there for a while by herself with her children, and then she had some of her relatives move in to kind of help her take care of the kids and the house, and because they needed a place to stay. So she, spent some time there with her relatives before she died in 1916. Her relatives then lived there for a while. Her brother Charles took over in 1916, and he ended up living there with his family and some of the other relatives of the family until 1925, and he was her brother. So after his death in 1925, 25 years afterwards, it was kind of like a rooming house, so like a room and board. Travelers would come out of town and would stay there to, you know, get back on their feet, get a job, get some money before they ended up moving out. So it was home to quite a number of people in the 25 years. A significant amount of things happened during that time. There were a couple deaths. There was a suicide as well, so we'll get to that in a minute. And so after these 25 years of having it be a room and board house, in 1952, the villa was purchased by Isabel Atlas, and then she ended up selling it not too long after. She couldn't keep up with the renovations and the amount of money it would take to restore the property. So she ended up selling it not too long after, about 10 years after, to another man who ended up restoring the house and is in the process of doing that. So that was just a little bit of the backstory. It is confirmed that 9 people have died in that house of natural causes, and 1 person committed suicide on October 10th, 1922. His name was Charles Donovan. He was a traveler who knew the family, who stayed there with them for a while before his death. So quite a few people, and I know that a lot of them were natural causes. They were a lot of the family members of Anna, John's second wife, and John himself died in the house too. So it was a lot of relatives of the family, but still 9 people is a lot. And of course the suicide that Charles committed, that traumatic energy stays in the house and just kind of like takes over, you know, so that left a lasting impression in the house and of the energy of the house. So that was a little bit of the history of the house. There's a lot more to it. I just kind of gave you guys the shortened version. So we didn't have to like sit here forever. I know last time my video was pretty long, and I'm trying to work on that. So I'm trying to get better as I go. And now that we got like the main history talked about, we're going to now talk about some of the things that go on in the house. Before I do that, let me just go ahead and get a drink. Also, these are great. I recommend for anybody that likes light seltzers. It's kind of like a Truly, except it's just Absolute brand, but it's really good, so just try it. Okay. So, in the house is open for tours, and you can go there. You can even stay the night there too. they're still working on the house, there's still renovations going on, but you can still stay the night and do like ghost hunts and your own kind of like investigations. I'm not sure how much that is. I'll link it in the comments below once I figure it out. But a lot of things go on in the house, especially like during the tours. A lot of people have seen a lot of things, and including the owners who have been there renovating it, they see a lot of things too. So the first thing that they noticed upon purchasing the house and they started renovating was that lights would turn on and off in the house when there wasn't any electricity. So they had to disconnect the electricity for their renovations, and there's a tower on the house, and it's the highest part of the house, and that doesn't have any electricity at all because it wasn't meant to have electricity. And they see lights turning on and off in the tower and in parts of the house that doesn't have electricity, and that was the thing that they noticed first. That kind of got them to like really start believing that the house was indeed haunted. Another thing that started happening in the house after the lights started going on and off, the owners were moving a bunch of boxes, and they were kind of starting to like clean up the house, and right in front of their faces, their speaker that they were playing music out of flew off of the counter across the room, and their moving boxes that they had right in front of them slid across the floor by themselves. And they were just astonished that this happened right in front of their face. That's a big deal. That takes a lot of energy for a spirit to be able to do that, especially right in front of them multiple times back to back. Another thing is that there's a rocking chair in the house that one of the residents that passed away naturally, they called her Goldie. She died in this rocking chair, and the rocking chair is still in the house as part of the aesthetic, and it's been known to rock back and forth on its own. And when people do investigations with their electronic detector things, when it starts rocking back and forth, the electronic phenomena spikes, as if somebody is actually sitting in it, like as if a spirit is actually sitting in it. So that's pretty crazy too. People have heard slamming doors throughout the house, mostly on the second floor. People have heard footsteps up on the second floor. There was a group of younger girls, they were all about 12, 13. They were doing a tour with their family, and they were sitting upstairs right at the top of the stairs, and there's video footage of all of the girls turning and looking down the hall because they heard footsteps coming down the hall towards them with nobody there. So they got scared and ran downstairs because they all heard these footsteps coming towards them. So several people have been known to hear those footsteps and then have nobody there. They hear the footsteps and then also the slamming door, as if somebody is walking into a room and slamming the door behind them when there's nobody there. People feel as if they're being watched and have an uneasy feeling up on the second floor and also in the tower. Give me a second to finish this and we'll continue. Another thing that people hear and see is the doorknobs. Since they're older, they creak when they turn. People have been known to hear that creaking sound and seeing the doorknob turn when there's nobody there. People hear female EVPs, and EVP is an electronic voice phenomena. So they have caught female voices speaking with them, and in one case they have caught a male voice as well. In the room where Charles Donovan passed away, sadly. So a lot of people believe that Charles is for sure one of the spirits that is still there. People have been known to see shadow people out of the corner of their eyes, or in the windows. And also in the windows, people have been known to see figures standing in the windows when nobody's at the house. So people have described them as being shadow people or full-bodied apparitions. They see an apparition of a female or they see an apparition of a male in the windows looking out at the street, or walking by the window. So, and they've called and nobody has been in the house. So that's another thing that people see. And people also experience cold spots throughout the house, and as well as the smell of perfume and cigarettes wafting by them. And as I mentioned last time, if you're curious about what I'm using, I will put it all in the description below. It's just kind of hard to remember to talk about both at the same time. You know what I mean. Now I'm going to tell you guys a story about an investigator that went there. Just, you know, so you can see some of the first-hand experiences people are having. But this guy's name is Bill, or William, and Bill for short. And he has a website, and I'll link it below. So they go and do tours all over at haunted locations, and the McInteer Villa was one of them. And this is what he reported at the house.
When I arrived at the villa, Stephanie, who is the owner, she's part of the owner, she's, you know, her and her husband owned it. Stephanie said hi and started showing us around. When we went upstairs, one of the doors was wide open, and she made a comment stating that she swore she had shut that door upon coming downstairs. Of course, me being a little skeptical was like, yeah, okay, thanks for the show, you know, for setting the mood, making things creepy. She then mentioned that they had security cameras all over the property to monitor overnight visits to make sure that people aren't conjuring up evil spirits or doing things they're not supposed to do, or, you know, breaking anything. So she made a comment about this and asked if we wanted to watch the video footage with her, if we wanted to review the video footage with her. So of course we said yes at the chance to see paranormal activity on camera. And sure enough, after reviewing the footage, we heard her downstairs say hi after she opened the door, and as soon as she said hi, the upstairs door in question, you could see the doorknob turning and then opening all the way, and nobody was there. So that started off my visit, and I still was a little skeptical. I thought maybe it had to be a trick or something of the sort, but it was good activity nonetheless. Later on, in one of the rooms we were in, we started using the EVP app to see if we could catch any voices. And sure enough, we caught voices mentioning shooting, like mentioned shoot or picture and mirror. And there was a mirror in this room. So we started taking pictures of the mirror and of the room itself to see if we could catch anything on camera. And upon reviewing the photos we took, the first couple of ones were fine, nothing out of the ordinary. But then there was a picture of my wife in the mirror, and she was just standing there smiling and nothing was weird about it. And then the next picture right after that, you see a weird face behind her. And another picture, you see a weird face behind her, the same weird face behind her. And off to the side, you can see another face sticking its tongue out at the camera. And it's misty. The face is a little misty, so it's hard to make out the details, but you can see it sticking its tongue out just right off of my wife's shoulder. Later on, we ended up going downstairs to the basement, where there's no electricity, no rooms are down there, and it was pitch black. The EVP app started acting up again, and when we asked who was down there with us, a voice responded, Goldie. And Goldie was the name of the servant that passed away in the house in the rocking chair that we viewed earlier that day. And needless to say, that was enough paranormal activity for me for the day, and we ended up going back upstairs, and the EVP box started acting up again and was saying touch and hair, and our host, Stephanie, asked if the spirits wanted to touch us, and recommended we keep our hands down at our sides and let them touch us. And sure enough, me and my wife each had cold spots show up on our hands, just on one hand, as we had our hands down at our side, and after a little bit of time, the cold spots went away and our hands warmed back up. I looked around to see if there was a draft, and there was not a draft. And also, after the cold spots dissipated, the EVP box stopped acting up. So the ghost had gotten what it wanted by touching us on the hand and moved on.
So that was what William said about his tour, about his experience. And I found it really interesting when I was looking on the website, because he actually linked the pictures that he took. And in one picture, you do see his wife just standing in the mirror, and he's like, she's in the mirror, and then he's catty corner behind her taking the picture. And then she has another friend standing like off to the side of her. Well, you see that picture, and then he also linked the other picture where the two faces were seen. And in that picture, the quality of the picture became muddled and misty, and you do see a face, like if I'm his wife, you see a face right here behind her, and then on the other side, like right here, you see a misty like figure, and you can see the definition of its tongue sticking out. And I thought that was crazy. And then also it was question about why why it was right there, because her friend was standing literally in the same spot earlier. And so people were saying that it was just her standing there when the camera got all muddled. But she reported back that she ended up moving to the other side of the room right before that picture was taken. So she claimed that she wasn't even by Bill or his wife when that picture was taken. And I thought that was really interesting. It's actually a really creepy picture. And then also he took a picture of the rocking chair that Goldie died in, and there's a Raggedy Ann doll sitting in it. And that Raggedy Ann doll has been said to move and change positions, as well as the chair rocking back and forth. And earlier I thought it was like a family member. I thought Goldie was a family member that passed away in the house, but it wasn't. It was a servant that passed away in the rocking chair from natural causes. I think it was a heart attack. And there's an article it framed right next to the rocking chair that talks about her death as well. So I'll link that picture down below too. It's pretty cool. Like, doing research on this house makes me want to go there. With all the activity that they have and everything that people have experienced, I think it would be a good trip. Also, the overnight stays are $400 to stay. Check-in is 5 p.m. and check-out is 10 a.m. the next day. There is beds to sleep in. There's no cooking allowed in the house, but there's like a mini fridge upstairs that you can like put your drinks and snacks in. So you get over 12 hours of investigation time to do the overnights, and that it's the same price whether it's one person or 10 people. No, 15 people. Anybody above 15 people, it's like an extra $25. And I know, like, so I did look that up really quick for you guys, so if anybody is interested in doing that. But yeah, so let me do my lashes off camera and then we'll come back and finish this up, okay? Okay, I'm back. I went ahead and did my lashes off camera, and I did my lip liner because since I'm doing black, it's a little bit, you know, harder to do while talking and being on camera, so.
Once get this on, then we're gonna wrap this video up.
So there you have it. That was the history and some of the hauntings of the McInteer Villa. And
I didn't get that. Could you try again?
okay, that was the history of the McInteer Villa and some of the hauntings that go on there. It's a very interesting story. I'm going to link some of the history and some of the pictures and the paranormal investigations down below. I'll also link some images of the manor. It's really interesting. For most of the year, the owners put like skeletons up like all over the house, and they have like a big carriage and like a horse, like a skeleton horse out in front. So it's pretty cool, and I'll put up pictures of that too. So if you're interested in touring, it's $400 for an overnight. Get some friends and go do some ghost hunting. It's a really cool place. It has a lot of history, and I think you'll definitely get some good evidence while you're there. So thank you for joining me on this week's episode, and I will see you guys later. Bye.